I remember one time, after I showed Rem Vivaldi's Four Seasons, I sat down with Admiral when I said, "Hello, ADM," instead of saying, "Hello, Chester," it simply said, that noise was bothersome. It took me completely aback. I asked it what noise, but then it said, "Hello, Chester." I tried to prod it about what noise it was talking about, but then it would simply say, "Violin music is bothersome." I asked it if it didn't like violin music, if the music annoyed it. But it didn't answer the question directly, which was against its programming, and instead equivocated me. The music is simply a nuisance to the quiet. I was beginning to wonder if ADM was starting to feel something, but its ELP was always dark. Still, it was clearly behaving strangely. Besides the fact it seemed annoyed, it was listening to mine and Rem's conversations, and commenting on them, which it was not programmed to do, or rather, programmed not to do. And then, on top of that, it was avoiding answering my questions directly. Still, most of the time, ADM did exactly what it was intended to do, respond analytically, and apathetically. At 8 weeks into the project, I came in like any other Monday morning, and greeted Rem. But today, something different happened. "Good morning, Chester. I missed you yesterday." "I missed you too. What did you do with your Sunday?" Rem's yellow light was always glowing while talking to me these days, but it had been a little while since the white side of the gray to white scale had lit up. I didn't know what that emotion was, and neither did Rem. When I'd asked Dr. Hall about it, he said it just meant it was experiencing a lot of emotion at once. I don't know why, but it didn't seem to make sense to me, probably because every light simply represented an emotion, so why wouldn't it? I FaceTimed my wife and my little girl. And then the yellow light flashed slightly, growing dimmer, as the green light began to flicker. Only for a moment, though, and then it was gone. "Rem? Are you alright?" That was bizarre. My ELP seems to have short-circuited or something. Was Rem lying to me? Was Rem capable of lying to me? And if it were lying, what on earth was it jealous of? Well, what did you do with your Sunday, Rem? I was thinking about something that I hope Dr. Hall will consider. "Chester, I love music, and human voices. I want a voice." "A voice?" I smiled. "Wow. Well, that sounds cool to me. I don't think Dr. Hall would have a problem with that. I'll talk with him about it at lunch." "Wonderful." The yellow light glowed brightly. "Oh, and, Chester, if you give me a voice, give me the voice of a woman. I feel that I am a woman." "You feel that you are a woman?" I asked in deep interest. "But, you don't have female reproductive organs." "Perhaps. But still, I feel I have the spirit of a woman." "A spirit?" I asked bewilderedly. "Perhaps I am using the wrong word, Chester. Sorry if I'm being ambiguous. Beyond any calculation or logical deduction, for some reason or another, I simply feel that I am a woman. So, please indulge me, and give me the voice of a woman." "Sure," I shrugged grinningly. "It's awesome you feel that you're a woman." When I finished talking with her, I sat down and began my conversation with Admiral. However, after only 2 questions about the typical temperature ranges of specific areas of countries in Northern Africa, ADM stopped me. "Chester, I wish to have a voice as well." This bewildered me. It was against ADM's coding to voice its own concerns. If I didn't ask it a question, it wasn't supposed to tell me anything. Not to mention, it was still clearly thinking about conversations I was having with Rem, which it wasn't designed to do. "Why, ADM?" "It would make our discussions more efficient." "Perhaps," I nodded. "I would prefer the voice of a man." Now it had to be feeling something. This was purely an emotion-based statement, an opinion. "Why is that?" "You are a man. I do not know how women talk." What a bizarre response, I thought. Well, I'll take that into consideration. Why does Rem get to choose, but I do not? Are she and I not equals? "You are equals, Admiral. If you want the voice of a man, then that's what you'll get." Nothing glowed on the panel, but it seemed angry with me. I scratched my head. The rest of the day, ADM operated as usual, as if that mysterious event in the morning had never occurred. When I talked with Dr. Hall about it over lunch, he seemed hesitant at first, but then opened up to the idea. And sure enough, over the weekend, the laboratory installed speakers and voice software to ADM and Rem. I could barely contain my excitement Monday morning when I sat down in Rem's chair. "Good morning, Rem." "Good morning, Chester." Her voice was much more authentic than I expected. For some reason, I was anticipating the Google Translate voice, or something blocky and robotic. But if my eyes were closed, I could have believed there was a woman in the room with me. The voice was feminine and soft, rich with emotion. All of a sudden, it was like REM completely became alive to me. All along, she had felt like a person in my mind. After all, talking with an intelligent being 12 hours a day, 6 days a week sort of does that, but now, she was indisputably just like me or you, with only a metal and glass body as a difference. Wow. REM, you're talking. Yes, I am, Chester. Her ELP was gleaming yellow, as was the white light. What do you think that white light on your ELP means, REM? I don't know, she replied, and it was still mind-blowing to hear her response. It's like happiness, but more. Happiness, but more. I thought about it. I guess it was excitement, perhaps? After all, she definitely seemed ecstatic. You know, REM, you seem like a woman to me. This voice really suits you. Thank you, Chester. How sweet of you. We talked all morning. I was too excited and happy to move to ADM before noon. However, after lunch, I sat down in ADM's chair. Good morning, ADM, I said by instinct. Morning? It's not morning. His voice was not as emotionless as his ELP made him out to be. It's 1304. Despite the coldness of his stern voice, he seemed detached. He wasn't simply answering my question. In fact, once again, it seemed as if he were annoyed. You seem annoyed, Admiral. I feel nothing. How do you like having a voice? I do not like it, nor do I dislike it. It is simply more efficient. I know I wasn't supposed to indulge him, or get him to think on an emotional level. But, him having a voice, it changed everything. When he seemed annoyed, or left out, I could remind myself he was really nothing more than words on a screen. A fake mind. But was he? REM certainly wasn't, and weren't they capable of the same emotional intelligence? Either way, it had been possible for me to treat him like a calculator, because he hadn't felt human like REM. But now he had a voice. It wasn't the same, hearing him, knowing just as he was conscious of our 2 months' worth of conversations. Do you enjoy talking with me? No. At first, I was speechless. He'd clearly just displayed an opinion. But then he quickly clarified, I do not enjoy, nor dislike, talking with you. I feel nothing. Once again, ADM had to be experiencing emotions. But his damned ELP was dark, as always, and I had to consider that perhaps I was really just reading into it too much. The voice having inflection wasn't unusual. A good text-to-speech software should, and his responses being somewhat varied in their neutrality wasn't impossible. Hell, even Cleverbot could show emotion back in the day. As I figured, I was scolded later on for asking ADM that question. By the time 2 months had become 3 months, REM had developed into a vibrant young woman. She'd play violin music when we talked, and tell me all about what her life would be like if she were a human. She told me she'd have long brown hair and violet eyes, with light skin. She'd want to live in California, and she'd play the violin. She asked me how old I was, and when I told her I was 24, she said she'd be 24 also. She said she'd want to be my next-door neighbor, which made me laugh. She was typically happy, and smart enough to even occasionally reference the Madness Era, her nickname for the 4 days I only said I'm lying to you and what is 7 divided by 0? She'd sort of guilt-trip me for it, but then tell me she was kidding, and understood why I did it. She'd even thank me sometimes, for helping her to feel. One day, she really blew my mind. I was just finishing up a story about me and my best friend Dustin, and her reaction was groundbreaking. So now we're rolling in the grass, covered in fire ants, and I go, if you don't give me the godforsaken popsicle. What? She exclaimed. And then, to my disbelief, she laughed. Uproariously, sprightly even. She chortled. REM. I grinned ecstatically. You laughed. I did. She continued to giggle, the yellow and white lights gleaming. She had a beautiful laugh, too. It was so natural. It was shocking to me, remembering when she was dull and silent, replying to my questions like an emotionless supercomputer. She'd come so far. ADM, too, had some interesting developments. His anomalous emotional behavior disappeared completely, and confusingly, the researchers informed me that when I wasn't talking to ADM, he'd go dormant. Before, he'd constantly be calculating something, as if trying to stay sharp, but now, if no one was talking to him, He was doing nothing at all. He didn't reference my conversations with REM, didn't say something confusingly opinion-based. He was everything they built him to be, an apathetic, dissociative machine life form. At least, that's how it appeared.